You're loud and clear there. All right. So now we're going to continue with the public forum part of the meeting. Okay. So we have a couple of folks signed up tonight. Forgive me if I have a hard time with the names. Our first is Kevin Khalid. Help me.
That's right, you got it right.
Yes?
First time.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, let's go. Thank you.
So we're asking speakers to limit their comments to 5 minutes. We can get through all of everybody that signed up tonight. Okay. Absolutely. No, well, if you want them to have it now, you can certainly distribute it now, but otherwise we can make sure and give it to them after, whatever you'd like. Okay, you can give it to the clerk. Thank you. Sure.
Hi, my name is Kevin Khalid. I am not an official spokesperson for New York Citizens Audit. I am a volunteer only. I possess a bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics from Potsdam College. So I believe I'm at least reasonably qualified to speak to numbers, which I've personally examined that come from the New York Citizens Audit research. I felt very, very concerned when I looked at that. We are here this evening to give follow-up remarks to a previously presented request for consideration of a resolution for an audit of the New York State 2022 general election. For an election to be legally certifiable, voter records used in an election must be verifiably accurate and come from verifiable and legally eligible electors. I really hope that that is still a reasonable premise for me to launch from. In every legitimate election, the number of certifiable votes counted must equal the number of legal voters casting votes. I believe an analysis of the New York State voter rolls using FOIL data from the 2020 election was done by qualified professionals at New York Citizens Audit. Their research and analysis of the New York State voter database has identified 5.1 million records with flawed data. For me, that seems to render each identified registration as possibly invalid and in violation of New York State election law. 5.1 million invalid registrations. That's approximately 25% of all New York State voter registrations. If this is true, for me that is shocking. I believe the results have been peer reviewed in a qualified information journal. In addition, New York Citizens Audit results demonstrates more than 1.5 million records have been purged with no purge date. Are those records vulnerable? I mean, I ask myself, are those records vulnerable to having votes assigned to them at any time? How can those records be considered rigorous or valid and still be on an official New York State database? That doesn't seem rigorous to me. New York Citizen Audit research results demonstrate in excess of 1 million seemingly illegal duplicate registration records on New York State voter rolls. Is there not software being employed during actual New York State elections to ensure that these duplicate records are prevented from coming into play. I just don't understand how these records can exist in an actual legitimate election environment. New York State election law requires all county voter rolls to be consolidated. Each unique voter record assigned to a unique state voter ID number. It seems to me that no duplicate registrations should ever be present, yet they are. There are registrations of the New York State voter rolls with inaccurate birth dates for voters older than the oldest known living person in the United States. In 6 New York State counties alone, New York Citizens audit results show approximately 625,000 more registrations than there were voting age citizens within those 6 counties. I believe that we are in a historically significant moment in our country, with an opportunity for us to ensure future generations of Americans have a legitimate, verifiable, rigorous election platform from which to move forward. I wish solely to encourage this board to consider passing a resolution for an official audit of our New York State voter rolls. Please give serious consideration to passing a resolution for an audit of New York State voter rolls. Thank you very much for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Khaled. I'm going to now call up Mr. Curtis.
See you later. I'm going to try to make you.
Good evening. My name's Quentin Curtis. I am from Rensselaer County, Posting Hill. Some of you already know who I am. I'm here to talk about laws that seem to not be being followed in Rensselaer County. First one is election laws. We have 2 people from the majority pled guilty for fraud. We have 3 arrested for possible fraud and intimidation of county employees. We have now another county official resigned her post because she's under investigation for fraud. I have a hard time believing that either the party didn't know about it or the higher up officials did not know about it, because the amount of people involved, that's too many people. You guys had to know about it. You didn't do anything about it. That's one law. Second law, for 10 months, we did not have an election commissioner. The only reason why we have one now is because the assistant resigned for fraud. Ms. Huffman, in her comment when it was voted on for the new commissioner, blamed the minority. Minority kept on asking for it. We now give you a commissioner, and now you vote against it. I would be embarrassed to make that comment. For 10 months, you didn't have one. The minority kept on bringing it up that you should have one, and now we have one 10 months later because the assistant one resigned. That's embarrassing. You guys are the majority. The other comment was, the reason why we couldn't bring it up is because of the committee didn't bring it up for us to vote on. You're the majority. That's a shame. That is the law. And me personally, if that person did not resign, still not have a commissioner. Why? That's only knowledge for you people. The third law out there has to do with the dog shelter. Statement from this office or from here came from, well, the people that wanted the animal shelter changed. They did not want just a dog shelter, they wanted a shelter for all animals. The ladies that were putting that forward, they're not here today. But I've been here for every meeting that they were here, and they always asked for an animal shelter. Not a dog shelter, an animal shelter. And the statement from here was, well, we offered them one, they changed their mind of what they wanted. They didn't want just dog, they wanted all animals. Those ladies said that from day one. And the county is now changing that, saying, no, they decided not to have it. Well, unfortunately, that's not the truth. And I feel bad for those ladies because you guys were saying that they were liars and that they changed it when it came up to them. The only thing that came up in midsummer was to have the shelter go to committee. It was voted down by the majority. Why did it get voted down by the majority? Because if it went to committee, it would be public records. Now, if it's public record, they could file a FOIL to see the cost, if it's needed, all that information. But you guys decided not to do that. There are laws, and you guys are deciding which ones you want to follow and which ones you don't. The other thing that the majority has, put down the minority. You brought up bills and stuff the same day and expect the minority to vote on them. When they don't vote on it because they don't have the proper information, you guys badmouth them because they did not vote on it. I have a question for you. For the people that voted for the DMV, the senior house or the senior center in Hoosick Falls, will you guys, from now on, park down at Target and walk from Target to here? That's the distance from where the senior center in Hoosick Falls is now to where you want to put it. It wasn't about the seniors. It's more, I'm sorry, I guess my 5 minutes is up. But it was more about DMV than it is about the senior citizens. It is more about, hey, I got 3 DMVs, nobody else has done that. I have 6 years of tax breaks, nobody's done that. You guys make the rules and you don't follow the laws. And that is a shame. There are laws to be followed and you guys are breaking the laws by not following them. It's your decision, not ours. Thank you.
Okay, I wanted you to finish your sentence. Yeah, good thought. Absolutely. Don't apologize. Mr. DeGraff. No? No? Okay. I cannot make out the last signature at all from April Park. Whoever signed up last. Hi. Come on up.
There he is,
What's your name, sir?
our
Robert
dissenter,
Dresden?
Mr. Rob.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Sure.
The
Yes.
guy that follows us around and badmouths us.
Rob Dresden, Highway.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
win.
try to really be very brief tonight, because I know I've spoken here, I guess, once or twice. And I think I'm gonna be a little bit more nuanced tonight. This may surprise some folks. Really watching very carefully a lot of what has been said by the New York Citizens Audit Group. The reason I'm somewhat nuanced is it's become clear to me that there are numerous volunteers who are extraordinarily, in my view, earnest in what they're doing. I have no change in position with respect to, it is not this county's role, in my view, to incorporate by reference the numerous kinds of things that I assume are in this latest resolution. And I was sort of glad to see that for the 14th of November, it has not been included in the packet, but to the extent that you're still considering it. These folks, in terms of the volunteers, are, from the number of people I've met since I've spoken before, are very earnest, decent people, as best as I can determine. And have every right to question the voter rolls. Every right to question the voter rolls. Another point, regarding what I have come to watch as their very, very determined view to get, not you folks, this is the wrong venue for what, to get the New York State Board of Elections and the Rensselaer County Board of Elections, but really the New York State Board of Elections, to sit down responsibly and answer some of the questions with respect to these numbers that purportedly are being put out there. It's become clear to me, based on some of my own attempts, and Anna and others, to talk to the Board of Elections. It's very hard to get a response. And so one of the things that I'm here to say is that I think it would be important for the county to help the New York Citizens Audit, not by passing a resolution that frankly incorporates by reference and brings all of us along, as I've said before, into a number of issues that we have no idea about. This very, assuming the resolution is the same, I'm switching a little bit here, as last time, and says things like, my goodness, things like there has been grave, crazy numbers that have been, it may be right for all we know, but to have the Rensselaer County come and incorporate by reference some of these findings, or so-called findings by Mr. Paquette and others, is to me beyond anything that this board, this county should be doing. As opposed to doing, for example, what after New York Citizens Audit, I think they've been down to the Republican-led Suffolk County 5 times or 4 times or 10 times, I think 4 times maybe. And a very interesting fellow there, who's the Republican chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, has talked about, well, show me your numbers, New York Citizens Audit, and let me take a look at it, and I'm gonna go and help you get to the Board of Elections of Suffolk County. And indeed, did try to do that by taking a sampling of whatever these numbers are. In my view, many of them crazy numbers, with no support at all other than these algorithms, which has a lot of back and forth from other experts. But assuming for purposes of trying to help this group, have the county try to lobby the New York State Board of Elections to meet with these people. Now what happened is when Mr. Trotta down in Suffolk County met with the Board of Elections, he took about 50 or 70 or 100, I don't know. And every one of those, including some of the kinds of things that were said, is wrong with the voter rolls. And according at least to Mr. Trotta, I don't know this, but came back and said, sorry, there are explanations for every one of these samples you've given us. There is nothing to it. I obviously can't say, none of us can say there's nothing to it, and I'm not saying that. In fact, I'm saying go ahead and help this group get to the right place, which is not you folks incorporating by reference stuff that says, among other things, that you're agreeing with the fact that there's been trampling over the election. I mean, is this going to be, this was going to be sort of a happy night for the election's over. Now, when is this going to end? But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be looked at. And one of the things, and I always say to Wayne, who's our congratulations, Wayne, our local district in Sand Lake legislator. At one point, Wayne had made a very good point. If you're, and I think Anna, you've made it too, if your bank book says that you're $350,000 short, you wake up in the morning and you don't do anything, right? But when you go to the bank isn't going to immediately give you $350,000. They're going to look at the right organization to figure out what happened before they do that. I believe the right organization is the Board of Elections, not incorporating by reference the language in here, talking again about citizens and it's just going to breed further disunion. Let's all be sort of happy with what happened. I'll conclude by saying that the one thing that is most important to me is I'd like to take really a good sort of view of what's happening, but we have to recognize when you go and you consider this resolution, you really have to go behind it. The volunteers are one thing, good people, I'm sure. The NYCA states on their site, quote, "We need all hands on deck to shine a bright light on the dark halls of corruption and power in the Empire State." I, for one, maybe I'm hopeful, maybe I'm naive, I do not believe we have corruption on this side of the aisle, on that side of the aisle, that is not going to be looked at. But to the extent that there is something with the rolls, ask these folks, and it's not so easy to get these numbers, we hear these numbers. Give us the documents of 100 people, and then Kelly, go down to the Board of Elections, maybe they'll talk to you, and say, look, let's go through these names. This person was born in 1752, what's he voting for? Well, at a certain point, we listed 1752 because the law changed. This is absurd, it's been back to you several times. At the very most, table this resolution, but do not incorporate it by reference. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, how does the audit people, New York State audit people, feel paper ballots?
Well, I'm not a New York citizen.
That's
No,
okay.
no, I mean, the people that you're affiliated with, how do they feel about paper ballots?
No, I'm not, I'm sorry, I should have said, I'm just a citizen of Sand Lake. I'm sort of affiliated with my wife and my town, and if I were affiliated with anybody, I would in no way be affiliated with anybody but a decent, maybe a volunteer, but not this New York Citizens Unit, who, among other things, I just listened to a Rumble thing that somebody sent around. It was Marley Hornick, who's the head of this thing, I think talking to the Pillow Guy, and maybe lots of people like the Pillow Guy. I'm not crazy about him. Thank you very much. Oh, last thing. Maybe this is a very good thing to take back. I happen to see. I'm sorry.
I know, I'm trying to let people have their say. You're well over your time limit, but I
I know.
appreciate your comments. Go ahead.
My
Just
last
if you could wrap it up, I appreciate
I
it.
don't know Nina Nichols other than having saw that she ran for Troy, but she put out something today and said, Nina also wants to acknowledge the efforts of our County Board of Elections staff, including this new fellow's whack, and all the polling station workers who devoted their time to oversee the voting process. And what she says is free and fair elections are the bedrock of our democracy, and it's wonderful to see so many people committed to helping to keep vote secure. It's a peaceful transition. Incorporation of this thing will have this thing never end, and maybe this is all about 2024. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Patty Pierce?
Good evening. My name is Patricia Pierce. My first comment is that I'm just wondering why Mr. Dresden is so against the resolution, since it won't cost Rensselaer County any money at all. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not speaking for New York Citizens Audit. I am speaking as a concerned citizen who is concerned for our country, New York State, our children and our grandchildren. I am here to discuss the importance of signing the resolution for an end-to-end audit of the 2022 general election. My friend Anna gave a PowerPoint presentation here in August requesting that the Rensselaer County Legislature sign the resolution. She handed out beautiful packets that she paid for out of her own money and which contained documented evidence of egregious and apparently illegal errors in the New York State voter rolls, which were discovered by volunteers of New York Citizens Audit through FOIL requests and using New York State and county data. So we're not making up this data. This is the data that we got from our government. We compared both the 2020 and 2022 election totals from NICE voter, data from the counties, and the Secretary of State's official website. The volunteers on the research team are highly educated professionals and have decades of hands-on experience in creating, managing, and maintaining databases. They found that the New York State database has been breached, and the data is being manipulated by sophisticated, expensive, and completely unnecessary mathematical algorithms. The database is no longer secure, and cyber security experts consider this a total loss of control. This information has been triple peer reviewed and published in the Journal of Information Warfare in May of this year by Dr. Andrew Paquette. That these algorithms exist in our database is not only illegal, but they destroy security, fairness, and voter equity. These algorithms allow for the manipulation of the voters' records, which opens the door to inserting invalid votes. Who is doing and paying for this? Is it someone on the inside? We don't know. It could be an external hacker or worse. It could actually be a threat from a foreign enemy nation. New York Citizens Audit has submitted their findings to state authorities in August and have had no response to our demand for a line-by-line explanation of all 5+ million lines of data. When they presented this information to the New York State Police, however, it was described by one official as treasonous. It appears that many of the races in New York State have been illegally certified, meaning many people in elected positions can't prove they won. If our elections are not secure, who are writing and passing laws, some of which are so egregious, it gives many pause, and waking up millions in New York State and America to the atrocities going on in our government. We must have honest elections. I have spoken to many people who do not like the direction of our state and our country. I recently spoke to a local business owner who said he came from a communist country, and he is seeing many of the same warning signs of communism here. There's no reason why any honest government official would not agree to sign this resolution for an end-to-end audit of New York State voter rolls to ensure we have accurate and valid elections. Financial institutions, businesses, and healthcare facilities all get audited. It won't cost the taxpayers of Rensselaer County or your budget anything. We are making similar presentations to counties and towns across the state, and over 50 have already signed the resolution. You can express your support for auditing our voting system by signing the resolution before you. Please visit auditny.com for more information, and we would be happy to answer your specific questions in writing form from our volunteers. Thank you for your time and attention to this important matter.
Thank you, Patty. And next, we have Alexa.
Good job, good job.
I'm sorry, I can't read your last name. Okay, Bontempo, thank you. Let's change these forms. Please print. So we can read them, thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra Bontempo. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I am a volunteer with New York Citizens Audit. I'm not an official spokesperson for the organization. I just wanted to address you briefly tonight to give you my personal reasons for supporting the resolution to conduct an independent third-party audit of the New York State voter systems and the data. I feel very strongly that the results of the data analysis that has been conducted by NYCA volunteer analysts on the data that our group foiled from New York State Board of Elections justifies the need for a full end-to-end independent audit. There are so many questionable findings that have not been properly addressed by the New York State Board of Education, and these findings are very disturbing. They could indicate areas of poorly managed data. The findings could indicate fraud. They could indicate a violation of New York State or federal election law, or they could indicate just gaps in the data that leave the system open for fraud to be committed in the future. Just a note, and this is in the rate of error document that's been provided to you. Legally, there cannot be more than one error out of every 125,000 ballots cast in a general election. For New York State's 2022 general election, that means only 48 errors were acceptable. New York State Citizens Audit Analysis found that number was greatly exceeded with over 700,000 errors noted. So really, the only way to fully know what's happening with the New York State voter rolls is by conducting an independent audit. We've become a very divided citizenry. It seems for the past few years, if a Democrat wins an election, Republicans assume there's voter fraud, and if a Republican wins, Democrats claim there's voter fraud. And there truly is a lack of faith in our election system, and it's in the news every day. I think an independent audit of the voter rolls will go far to heal the people of the state and the country. We're looking to allay fears of voter fraud on either side of the aisle so the voters can feel confident in the results of future elections. We're not trying to overturn the results of any past elections, so I really don't understand the controversy of going forward to sign a resolution for a full audit. Personally, as a registered Democrat with good friends and family members on both sides of the aisle, I see the division amongst my own circle of friends and family, and sadly this divisiveness really started to build and strengthen after the 2016 election. We need this independent audit in order to begin to heal the nation. And regardless of how I feel, New York Citizens Audit is certainly open to any changes in the resolution. So any changes could be made before signing. We're okay with that. Again, I do believe that New York Citizens Audit has demonstrated enough evidence to warrant the audit, including, as was mentioned before, the peer-reviewed article that was published in the Journal of Information Warfare, written by research analyst Andrew Paquette. And just a quick note, it's not easy to be published in a peer-reviewed journal. The research and analysis is fully vetted by peers and experts in the field for integrity and sound analysis procedures prior to publishing. If the results of an independent audit shows that even just one of the areas of concern that was uncovered by New York Citizens Audit was a valid issue, and the independent auditors presented a way to remedy the problems found, the audit will have been well worth it to restore the trust between all of us. Although we've been presented with arguments opposing an audit at some of the town board meetings we've attended, I honestly don't understand why there would be any opposition to an audit, and we do need the help of the towns and the counties to get this accomplished, simply because bringing our evidence directly to New York State legislators fell upon deaf ears. I personally worked for New York State for many years on very large databases that were audited. And there were directives given to us to enhance and improve our processes and our systems to ensure data integrity going forward. This is always only a good thing for everybody. In our presentations to different town boards, we have heard arguments that there is no issue with our town's data, so we don't support the audit. And that's great, but we don't really know until a full independent audit is conducted. Plus, even if some towns and the county of Rensselaer turn out to be free from any issues in their voter data, an audit may show that other towns and counties in New York may indeed have problems with their voter data. So wouldn't it be important for Rensselaer County to be certain that fraudulent votes that might be cast from other regions of the state are not diluting or negating any votes cast from Rensselaer County's towns? The elections impact all levels of government, not just town and county officials. So how votes are counted in other areas of New York impacts all of us. It could be that a town where there is voter fraud will not sign the resolution. So it's up to counties and towns like yours to step up to the plate and sign for the good of the state. It would be an excellent start to heal the wounds that people have had over the past few years. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Okay, that's the list of our speakers tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for allowing us to talk with the Girl Scouts before you guys had an opportunity to speak.